Hello, and welcome to our channel, Vedic Solutions, preparing for the coming of the Golden Age. And I'm your host, Harinama Chintamani. Our subject today is AI. And the title says Divine or Demoniac. There have been so many discussions that I have heard, and I was so surprised how many thoughtful people, educated people, actually believe that a machine can suddenly become a living being and claim its independence. The only way that would happen is if that machine was taken over by a subtle living entity. A machine is dead matter. This is how far we have come as human beings from actually having real knowledge. All of our institutions and diplomas and well-known scientists and leaders still cannot understand that there is a difference between the soul and the body. That is basic. The simplest villager in India can tell you that without 8 years of education. And yet, after all of those years of education, not even being able to distinguish the difference between the soul and the body means we do not have proper human civilization. Srila Prabhupada said, right now, we have a civilization of polished animal life. Why? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. If that is all we do, what differs us from the animals? The difference is our ability to inquire. Who am I? What is the purpose of this life? The book Srila Prabhupada translated from Sanskrit to English. These ancient Vedic literatures which discuss directly who we are, why we're here, where the soul goes after the soul leaves this body, and what is the purpose of this creation. These questions are important. They're the questions for this human form of life. And without that knowledge, so much confusion is there. Unlimited discussions on the internet. What if, what if, what if? So much speculation. A machine will not become a human being. A machine does not have a soul. It's not that at some point in the thinking of a machine, which has all been programmed by a human being with a soul, that suddenly it will become independent. But can it be taken over by a subtle living being? Most certainly it can. Most certainly it can. So the other aspect of that is the idea of what is progress. Now, in Vedic culture, progress means I, as a soul, am making progress in this human form of life to become self-realized, leave this place of birth and death, and not come back, because this is not our home. And this material creation was given to us by the Lord for those of us who wanted to experience our independence from the Lord. And when we become dependent again, when we enter into that loving relationship again, there's no need for us to be here. Just like when a criminal becomes reformed, he doesn't have to stay in the prison house. Of course, now our prison houses are filled with people who didn't even do the crimes they were accused of. That's another thing. But let's just talk about if it were being used in the proper way. So if somebody actually committed a crime, reformed from that mentality, criminal mentality, there's no reason for them to remain in the prison house. They can come back to society again. So in the same way, we're in this material world, in a material body, suffering birth, old age, disease, and death. The soul does not have to go through that. That is what happens when the soul is encased in a material body. So progress means to have a society which facilitates the human being evolving in consciousness to higher and higher levels, and is a society that's organized in a way where the citizens are peaceful because the leader is God conscious. And now we have a catastrophic world situation where people are in so much anxiety and fear 24/7. It is not meant to be like that. And by the Lord's arrangement, changes are coming. Tremendous upheavals are happening on this planet, and it is for good. It is going to be for good ultimately. Now, back to the subject of AI. So there's one person in particular, very wealthy, very intelligent, and very caring, who's thinking, well, we have so many car accidents, why don't we have robots driving the car? Or why don't we have the car driving itself? And that way, that human element of making mistakes won't be there, and so many lives will be saved. Let's backtrack. We have many, many more cars than we need on the highway, don't we? And manufacturers make cars, and then hundreds of acres are taken up with these vehicles that nobody can afford to buy. Hundreds of acres. Tens of thousands of cars. Maybe hundreds of thousands. I have no idea. So many. So all of that is waste. When one has intelligence that is purified, when there is a foundation of understanding the soul and the purpose of life, then the way that we problem solve is going to be very different. I have a video early on called Purified Intelligence. When intelligence becomes purified, how we look at any situation and the solutions we come up with will be for the benefit of human society, not the detriment, which is where it is now. So although I appreciate the mood of wanting to have less accidents, the thought of having a robot in every home serving the humans or driving the car, that's not what we need. We need less technology or more God-based technology. We don't need technology that takes us away from each other, that takes us away from the earth, that takes us away from our heart, or that takes us away from God. That is not progress. To meld a man and a machine is not progress. I'm going to share something with you. You can accept it or not accept it. So when I was a part of the organization of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, when the founder Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, left untimely, which he did, because the knowledge he was giving us was very dangerous to the powers in charge of the planet. And they saw to it that he left untimely. That is a fact. And none of us knew that the organization had been infiltrated. And there was a point where some of us, and I was one of them, were subjected to the kind of horrific torture that you hear about from MK Ultra. And I was also taken to underground military bases. And I can tell you that 45 years ago, they already knew how to connect the subtle mind with the machine. I had a personal experience, and it was horrific. And it has taken a long time to reclaim my own humanness. Now, that may be quite shocking and strange. Some of you may not even know these things exist. But in my healing and recovery, I literally had the experience of having no awareness of my personality, name, connection to anything. All I knew is that I existed, I had a number, and I was waiting for whoever wanted to do whatever they were going to do with me. It was horrible. I also had the experience of being part of a hive mind with no independent choice. And I want to tell you, that is not how God created the world. We are meant to be independent. What is the meaning of love? The Lord could make us love him. He's all powerful. But he waits for us to turn to him. We turned away. He's waiting for us to come back. That is who he is. That free will is meant to be preserved. It was preserved in the Constitution by our founding fathers. How important that free will is, given to us by God, and it should not be taken away by anyone. So I do encourage all of you to rethink this idea of man and machine as being some sort of progress. Why do we want to combine with a machine? Have we not witnessed human beings capable of the most amazing feats? Whether intelligence or whether physical strength, we don't need to merge with a machine. That's all about power. We don't need to be fearful of death. The soul is eternal. So let's see how we can purify our own intelligence so that we can contribute in whatever ways the Lord has empowered us in this life to find godly solutions for the problems that are in the world now. I hope you'll take advantage of our website, purelyprabhupada.com and purelyprabhupada.org. We have many resources for you. And if you appreciate this video, kindly indicate below and maybe send to a friend and encourage others if it is something that has touched your heart. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.